This is Allein Moore and I'm on the VIP interview. This morning I'm talking to John Coyle, who is with Maddock Douglas. Good morning, John. Welcome to Singapore. John, I think AdAsia readers would be interested to hear about your very first career. Would you like to just tell us all about that?
Sure. For 10 years of my life, I was on the US national short track speed skating team. So for about 10 years, I basically just turned left and went fast, but on ice. It actually means traveling around the world to cold countries in winter to go into artificially refrigerated environments, but it's actually a really exciting sport. And I got to go to a lot of places that most people never go, like north of the Arctic Circle, for example. But through that career, I did compete in 9 world championships and had the amazing opportunity to compete in the Olympic Games, where the US team won a silver medal, which is at home somewhere on the mantle, I think.
John, I believe your degree was in, and you got a master's in product design. Would you like to tell us why you didn't go into that career?
I mean, I did eventually, but when I was in my early 20s when I graduated college, I had to make a choice of whether I was going to pursue my athletic career or my work career. And it seemed pretty obvious at the time that I wasn't going to get any younger and my legs weren't going to get faster in my 30s, so I chose to go ahead and take the route into speed skating. And had a great career there, but it doesn't pay any money, so it was time when I was 29 to maybe flip the switch and find a way to actually make some money.
John, I believe that when you joined US Cellular, you came up with a very interesting loyalty program, which in its day was very innovative. Perhaps you could just explain what that was?
So the Belief Project, as it came to be known, was a multi-year program that I initiated in the company for a reason that now looks very obvious, but the U.S. wireless industry in general is it has very low customer satisfaction ratings, despite the fact that it brings you this amazing technology that's constantly evolving, keeps you in connection with all the people that you love and care about in your work and everything else. Yet somehow this industry was at the dregs of most consumer companies in terms of satisfaction ratings. And when you look at it now, I think it's very obvious, and it's different, I think, than say Europe or Asia, in that we have a contract-based system where in order to get this $600 iPhone, for example, you need to walk into a store and only pay $99. But you need to sign your next 2 years your life away to a recurring outgoing stream of your dollars that is very variable, because it's hard to predict, that feels governed by a lot of minutiae and complexity that you don't understand by a company that very clearly doesn't care about you once you've slapped down the money for the initial phone. So that was the problem we wanted to solve, and loyalty, as it turned out, seemed like the way to do it. And very specifically, we worked with Coyle Loyalty Lab to figure out a program that would replace contracts, the sort of iron jail, the walls of contracts, with sort of the magnet of rewards. And could you create a bank of rewards that was powerful and sticky enough that you wouldn't need contracts? I can tell you this was very scary to our board, to eliminate the very thing that everybody believes keeps customers with you. But what we did prove, and what has actually happened, is we eliminated contracts and decreased churn or defections at the very same time.
John, you just mentioned TIBCO. Can you tell me how TIBCO software helped you with your loyalty program?
We were the first wireless company in the US, and I'm not sure, maybe somewhere else they have one, but first wireless company in the US to attempt a rewards program, and it's a complex space. It's not like just dollars earned equals a discount or dollars earned equals points. What we want to do is create a program where you could have multiple sources of earn based on how you use your phone and how you interact with the company, and multiple sources of using those points or using your rewards. Very specifically, can you trade your rewards points for a faster upgrade on your phone if you break your phone? If you go over on your bill, can you trade your points for applications and services? And that's where Loyalty Lab really played a part. They were much more flexible in their approach, their architecture, to help us figure out how can we take this real-time data feed and feed it into the stores, the systems, and frankly, right in front of our employees. This is where the program, I think, is a bit different. Most rewards programs that I've participated in, whether it's hotels or airlines, you can't walk into the retail outlet of those rewards providers and say, I'd like to use my points today for this room. You have to call a special number, do a special queue, you speak to these special customer service agents, and it's 2 weeks later before you can actually use it, and there's blackout dates and so forth. In the US Cellular program, our employees are all armed with the points balance real time in front of them, and when a consumer comes into our stores, they will say, hey, would you like to use your points today? That's a little bit different program, and that requires a lot faster data feeds, more analytics, more complex program, I think, than most, and TIBCO helped us put that together.
John, you've moved on to Maddock Douglas, which I understand calls itself an innovation agency. Can you explain exactly what that does?
I sure can. You know, when I was at US Cellular, for that last couple of years when we were building this program, we started from a basis of consumer insights, and very specifically we went out and we try to sort of plumb the inner recesses of sort of behavioral economics of the consumer in the wireless space, and what would they, everybody thinks it's just phones and price that drives the market, and we wanted to find other things, other latent needs that haven't been articulated in the marketplace, and then use those to create ideas that we turn into concepts that we then bring to market. When I finished the program, I was sort of back to my old job of price and promotion, and I found it less intriguing. And when I heard about Maddock Douglas, I was very intrigued that they were doing all the time what I got to do for a few years. So I switched over to Maddock, and that is exactly the process. They don't just start with ideas. They know that ideas founded without insights into the consumer's needs tend to fall flat. We actually call those inventions. They can be fantastic, they can be very interesting, but if there's no consumer need for it, it doesn't matter. So in this case, Maddock Douglas follows a process that I'm very happily involved with, where we do really deep research with consumers to identify and try to articulate those unarticulated latent needs. Only then do we create ideas to solve for them, and we use partners from all around the world from adjacent industries, and I say adjacent with purpose. We don't bring in people to help ideate that are within the jar, as we say, of that industry, because they have a hard time thinking outside of those four walls. And so that we bring in these people, we solve for these insights, we create concepts that we then help translate into the marketplace, whether that's through communications, digital, or what have you. And out of the far end of this now 9-month process, we come up with really de-risked ideas that will do really well in the marketplace in places that nobody's competing, and that's the most important part.
Perhaps you could give us an example of where you work with a client?
Absolutely. One of my favorite examples is GE, which is a great operating company, host to a lot of Six Sigma processes, incredibly adept at bringing products to market. Not necessarily as innovative as one might think, actually. I think it's been 13 years since they've patented an idea. So GE, knowing that they were sort of trapped in their own box, came to us, and they wanted to be able to solve for a very huge market in the United States, which is aging population of the boomers that want to stay home longer safely, rather than move into assisted living or a nursing home. The care recipient, in this case, the aging person, wants to stay home. Their loved ones want them to stay home. They want grandma to stay home. The insurance companies certainly want them to stay home and not have to sort of pay for that bill. The government wants to stay home. So it's a win-win for everybody if this can happen. But when it's not a win-win is when grandma falls and breaks her hip, or where she doesn't take her medication, or all the scenarios are actually pretty dire in this case. GE has this amazing medical technology that can help in a lot of ways, but they couldn't figure out how to tap into this market and what are the true needs of these recipients of care, these aging people. And through this process of going into the insights, we realized fairly quickly that it wasn't just about the care recipient, it's about the caregiver. So for every grandma, there's a son or a daughter or a niece or a nephew or somebody helping to take care, and they're making a lot of the decisions. And those decisions are based on their own cognitive biases and behavioral needs. So finding a way to adapt and create insights around the two of those coalescing and intersecting worlds, we were able to bring insights to market that we could then test ideas against. And when we did this, so we had some deep consumer insights, we wanted to find ideas, again, from adjacent but not in the jar industries. In this case, one of the idea makers in the room that we brought in was the world's leading zoo cage designer. So for 20 or 30 years, he's been designing zoo cages, and I know it sounds terrible, but not about putting grandma in a cage, but it was about thinking differently about how do you create an environment, which he had spent his life doing, where the inhabitant was psychologically balanced, or happy, safe, no sharp edges, no way to fall down, no ice cubes in the camel cage, and monitored, such that if something did happen, they could react quickly. So he was able to really push the boundaries of the room. The GE folks in particular tended to think in a very narrow way around their own products, and out of those ideas, concepts were brought to market that are still actually in the process of being brought to market that were extraordinarily powerfully testing with consumers.
John, thank you so much for talking to AdAsia.
Thank you.